So I've been a marketer for over 20 years, and within working in that environment, it's actually working out of New York City and working with a number of retailers. I saw the fragmentation that retailers had in their retail media ecosystem, and I had to kind of deal with that fragmentation. And I recognised that they were not really capitalising on that ecosystem with the way that they were operating. But I really came at it from a brand perspective, saying I want to be able to say exactly what I'm doing, across all the media channels in a consolidated way, so I can make informed decisions about where I put my marketing dollars. And that's really what sparked the idea behind Brandcrush as an owned media platform, enabling these businesses, like retailers and also other businesses that were basically influencers. They were reaching shoppers every day on their path to purchase. So that's really what inspired my frustration, as a marketer, is what inspired Brandcrush, basically.
So is the focus, talk about the focus on in-store.
Yeah.
Because I am particularly curious about that, because that is a rising area of interest, I think, but probably not particularly well understood or explored.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we talk about retail, actually I want to take a step back in terms of defining retail media. So one of the things I felt was really interesting over the past, say, 18 months is that retail media was defined to just on-site and off-site. And I'm like, actually retail media is related to all the touch points that reach shoppers on that path to purchase. So it's holistic, right? And it is in store, that's one element. It's out of store and it's online. And obviously in that online space, it's more than just on-site and off-site. It's also social, it's, circulars, it's loyalty, it's all that kind of jazz. So, but within in-store, the reality is that like within grocery, around, 90% of shoppers are still shopping in store. And even the pandemic didn't slow that down. Obviously slowed it down a little bit, but everything came back to post-pandemic or to pre-pandemic levels, if not greater. Within pharmacy, like CVS, for example, their percentage within store is sizable. And so you're just reaching shoppers every day in that channel. So it's a significant channel to be able to convert clients on that path to purchase. And so really, irrespective if it's a digital or it's a physical medium, it is a medium that has that touch point. So that's really how I see in-store. Like it's just that really strong touch point. It's a sizable touch point in terms of audience, and it's that touch point that's closest to that path to purchase.
So what are some of the experiences that consumers that would have in
So it can vary. It can be, for example, as you're out of store coming in, seeing a digital screen before you're coming into the store. Then when you're in the store, you can hear radio, the audio that comes through. You could be walking down the floor, there'd be a decal on the floor. There might be a lady or a man sampling a new chip flavour. There could be, for example, a shelf talker. There could be a magazine that you've just read about that. There could be a recipe app that you've just received. They're all touch points that are influencing these shoppers, and this is the ecosystem that retailers own. And this is if you think about that, you think about, my goodness, they are a media giant, but they're not capitalising on that right now, because when they look at each of those channels, they look at them in silos. They're executing them in silos. And so I think that's the opportunity space that exists around retail media in its holistic sense, in its unified sense.
So there's also a responsibility to the consumer experience that comes along with capitalizing on all of those surfaces.
Yeah.
So how are you finding that to be a loud enough part of the conversation?
I think that absolutely, that's the challenge with the silos at the moment, because you've kind of got different silos for those media channels. And even when brands want to come in and take an integrated approach to their media, it's actually quite difficult to do, depending on who you're working with. And it becomes even more fragmented in the US, because obviously those channels are even more sizable. They need different partners to be able to execute on it. So the retailer, the shopper, the consumer's at their core, and they don't have that single view of those touch points or all that those campaigns that are being invested across that. So actually this is becoming more relevant for them, and it starts with that. They have to deliver relevant and relevant media to these consumers to be able to influence them at any stage, or to give them the media that's going to obviously be received well by them. So it is at the core of it, and that's why you've got the retailers that are a bit more far ahead in their maturity curve. They're starting to think about this. You've got some retailers that are purely looking at it from how do I get some efficiency in this process, because it's manic, and you're getting some retailers that are working very closely with their brands to go, okay, we really do need to give the consumer something that makes sense. So it's producing that relevant and contextual information back to those retailers. So it's not just about like throwing and monetizing every single aspect that you can. It's monetizing those channels that make the most sense for those consumers at the same time. So, think about if it's someone who wants to try a new chip flavor. Obviously, an in-store experience, that kind of experiential experience can make a lot of sense versus, it could be a mother or a father trying to choose new nappies. They might want to be absorbing themselves in some sort of a side-by-side line. It really is about that personalization for that consumer.
Are brands ready for this?
Brands have always been ready for this. Tell you as a marketer, brands have always wanted this. It's like the holy grail of marketing, to be able to see that single view of your supply investments and to see those moments of immediate impact along the shopper journey. That's key. So they're ready for it, but retailers haven't been ready to give it to them. And so, and we're getting that feedback directly from the retailers. We're getting that feedback from the brand saying, oh my God, can you get so-and-so onto this? Can you get the next retailer on this? So they want to see that holistic view, but they also need to be able to get that data from the retailers, as well as it's not just about discoverability of the media. It's not just about the campaign onboarding. It's about that attribution that comes through.